Hi, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to GWFM Women Leadership Roundtable. We have been doing it since few years. I think most of your leaders have been there in the past with us. We did offline meetings and also online. We have been doing it very regularly across the board, and we have this covering APAC and ANZ regions because of the time constraint. And we do have another one, covering EMEA, North America, and Latin America. And any of you like to join in, you can join in there. And we have a great speakers this year from great companies and with the different personalities, and each one of them have got a different story to tell, piece of thoughts and insights, and trust me, we're going to have a great takeaways. So theme for this year is leading the AI era, women shaping the strategy. There and making it relevant and aligning with AI. Everyone talks about AI, how women leaders really taking the lead in shaping the workplace and workforce with workforce intelligence, and then like enterprise spirit and leadership. To do this, we have a great leader today. We have Grace. Grace is going to moderate session. Grace happens to be uh, a great well-wisher of GWFM. She has been associated since long time. We happen to work together in IBM. And Grace has recently joined Freshworks. Earlier to that, she has worked in Informatica and IBM and many other companies, around 2.5, 3 decades of experience. Grace always talks of great insights and great takeaways. And I'm sure that today we're going to have a great conversation with the great women leaders. Well, so with this, I welcome you to Women Leadership Roundtable 2026. Welcome you all, and feel free to type any questions that you want to ask any particular speaker or panelist. And I want you to engage and looking forward to having you and our panelists with a great takeaways and leading the AI era, women shaping the strategy and influencing and creating future of work and future workplaces.
Thank you, Shiva. Greetings, everyone. And I think it's just such a pleasure to be here. And I have my very able fellow panelists, who are all here. I think our collective experience definitely is going to be over 100 years, right? And I want to just introduce myself. Thank you for that introduction already, Shiva. I recently joined Freshworks, leading the HR function there for India, and have been in the HR space close to 3 decades now. One interesting fact about me is I'm a lot into content creation these days in this new AI world, right? And then I've, left behind reading a lot of the content others create, but then have become a creator myself. That's just an introduction about myself. And I'm going to ask all my lovely panelists to go one after the other. We'll start with Stacy to go introduce, and then hand over the baton to somebody else after you're done with your introduction, Stacy. Let's go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name's Stacey Kavanagh. I'm the Managing Director of KJM Consulting. So we provide end-to-end business technology consulting with a specialty focus on workforce management. Sometimes it's a little hard to think up an interesting fact about yourself, but I would maybe share that I get a very odd amount of joy from color coding and reorganizing things. So anything from a spreadsheet to my calendar to like the food pantry, nothing is safe from me. I might hand over next to Lavanya.
Thanks, Stacey. Hi, very good morning, everyone. So, I'm Lavanya. I have a little over 26 years of experience in people supply chain, delivery, and project management, and all of that in Wipro. So, born and brought up in Wipro. I'm part of the Global Talent Supply Chain Group and head few initiatives, program manage certain initiatives in the workforce management space. A quick interesting fact. I love reading and traveling to places with rich architectural background. I can reread the same book or re-travel to the same place and still be in the same awe multiple times and enjoy them. I will hand over to Yamini.
Hey, thanks, Lavanya. Hi, Grace. And thank you, Shiva, for that entire efforts to putting this entire panel together. My name is Yamini Krishnan. I'm currently based in Bangalore, India, and I work with a company called IQVIA, which is into healthcare consulting. It's been a journey, fantastic journey of almost 10 years now. And my role currently is to lead the HR strategic business partnering for a new cluster called Chilsa, which is Switzerland, Israel, and South Asia. I was earlier leading a region called AMISA, which was Africa, Middle East, and South Asia. So overall in IQV, it's been an experience of handling more than 30 plus countries. And it's a fantastic journey. Not the great time for us right now with the Middle East war, so many things happening. But we're trying to still look at how do we support the business and make it more profitable and efficient. And personal interest wise, I do love driving, long distances, road trips, travel. So my best experience has been doing a driving expedition in Himalayas. Apart from that, I was a licensed rally driver. So I would say I think that's what keeps me going. So thank you, and handing it over to Ronaldin.
Thank you, Yamini. Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this conversation today. I'm Rona Gupta. I am based in the Philippines, and I've been working with T-Tech for the last 21 years. At some point, Editha and I work in the same company. We started there, I think, from a workforce management perspective. So I started in T-Tech as a customer service representative, went on to workforce management, starting with a real-time specialist role, going into scheduling, and then holding management roles. And I currently hold the executive director for workforce management, supporting our North America, Latin America, and also ANZ, APAC. So pretty much across the globe. Interesting fact about me, I have 2 kids and 4 dogs, and I love traveling with my kids. And I pass it on to Editha because I mentioned Editha. So over to you, Editha.
Thank you. Thank you, Rona. Hi everyone. My name is Editha Mohar. I currently work at Schneider as a leader of workforce optimization and strategy. So before that, I worked 20. I have 21 years of experience in WFM. Like Rona mentioned, I've worked with her for a long time. And I've also worked in other companies, also leading their organizations from a WFM perspective. So interesting. I'm not sure if it's interesting, but personal fact about me, I like uh, crime fiction, both in books and in movies. Thank you. And I will pass it on to Mikola.
Hi, thank you so much. Thank you for inviting me for this wonderful session. I already see so many talented folks out here, from West Asia to APAC, to from Philippines to Singapore, to our very own Desi Indian subcontinent. I am part of a manufacturing hub out here in India. I lead the HR and people function. I also lead the talent management and culture, and I drive organizational development as well. uh, as we are into a manufacturing setup, so there is a lot of human interaction which happens with us. And best thing about me is once I start laughing, it's very difficult for me to stop. So that is something which is my USP. And with this, I would like to hand the baton over to, I think, Richa. I think Richa is not there. So I'll pass it on
Yes,
to. Oh, okay.
Michael,
Great,
I'm
Richa.
here.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Yeah.
Very good morning, good evening, everyone, if we are in different zones. Well, my name is Richa Verma. I'm a part of Flipkart HR Leadership Group, primarily responsible for driving the people experience function, which is HR operations, but have also been responsible or multi-hatting for different HR charters, including HR transformation, HR technology, and have also been doing interim roles in HR business partnering. Overall, about 28 and a half years of experience. Started my career into hardcore technology, worked with the likes of Dell Computers and Microsoft before accidentally switched to HR field, and it has been a lovely accident all this while, I must say. So that's a bit about me. One thing that is little different, as much as my looks may look a little serious, I am a very fun-loving person, and I'm a trained classical dancer.
Wow, that's amazing. So I think who's left? I
Thank
think
you.
Sorel is left.
I think so. Hi, everyone. My name is Sorrel Kesby. I am the CEO co-founder of evenbetter.ai. We are gender pay gap management reporting and management and reporting software. Should have gotten that right. My background is predominantly tech. 15 years in martech, ad tech, clean tech, prop tech. So a huge passion of mine has always been female representation in organizations, and I'm a huge data nerd. So I've been lucky enough a year ago to co-found a company that combines those two of my favorite things outside of my 4-year-old son. Thank you so much for having me on this panel. It's an incredible group of humans, of women. So I'm really looking forward to the conversation. Probably not that interesting, but I'll give it a crack. Thing about me is I grew up riding and competing in equestrian. So I played a horse sport called polo cross, which is the Australian version of polo, and ended up playing for my country when I was 16.
Wow, that's impressive. Thank you, Sorel. And I'm just going to call out, I know we've been juggling with, putting this panel together and stuff like that, just in case, a quick check if we have any other panelists here who haven't introduced themselves. Just a quick check before we actually dive in. Okay, I think we are good to go. So we'll kind of get started. So here we are. I think all of us are aware for many, many years. I think we've all talked so much about women having a seat at the table and, having a voice at the table and, so on and so forth. But I think now is the realization that the world is open. A lot of organizations are open with that seat available, that voice available for all the women, right? And the question now is, what do we do with that seat and that voice? Because it's very important to also understand that it's not just about operational excellence and women being part of the workforce. In driving that being the big ticket item, but I think it's more of how do women in the workforce really be that influencer, right? And how do we ensure that we are able to really focus on helping the organization be financially fluent, or how do we position ourselves as executives, how do we shape the workforce, the strategy, etc., right? And that naturally brings us, I think, to this topic today that we're going to be addressing, which is leading the AI era, right? And how women are shaping strategy, how we really playing that influencer role, and of course, talking a lot about, the future of work in this context, right? And that's really what we're going to be talking about, and really looking at elements of leadership, decision making, workforce strategy, and also having that bold voice out there. How do you really become that meaningful influence in leadership, and especially during boardroom conversations, right? And I'm sure a lot of you who are listening, or people who are going to be even listening into a recording later, even if you're walking back with a few takeaways, because we do have a rich bunch of women leaders out here who are going to be sharing their personal experiences, and how do we really build, strengthen that next generation of women leaders as we start staring or gazing into the future of workforce, especially focusing on women, right? So that's how it's going to be, and that's what we're going to be discussing. And I'm going to maybe start the conversation with Richa, right? And Richa, my question to you is, what leadership capability do you think will matter the most when we are kind of, working in an AI-driven workplace? And I'd love for all my other fellow panelists also to add in after Richa to really make this conversation extremely meaningful.
Thank you, Grace. I think great question to start this session with. I think fundamentally with the advent of AI and AI seeping in so fast into our workplaces, I think the fundamental DNA of how organizations are operating right now is undergoing a massive change, and that massive change will continue for a long time to come. And I say so this because I think about 5 6 years ago, AI, generative AI, was just a buzzword in the industry. And I'm talking more in parlance of India, maybe not so much in the Western countries. But I think it was just a buzzword. And it so has grappled the existing work environment that it is becoming more a center stage of decision making, strategy building everywhere. I think there is clearly a shift in how we are moving from human led task orientation to AI augmented, enablement of functions. I think we are also seeing that whereas earlier the focus was more on data information being the core at the decisions. I think right now it is more, there is a shift to being human centric, and I think that is all because while there are there our workplaces are still a mix of humans and the budding AI agents. And I think whenever there is a change, I think we all understand there are two aspects of it, right? One is the resistance and the other is the adoption. And I think we as HR fraternity or leaders, we need to play a very, very significant role in creating the balance, synergizing the two ways of working in the organization, two types of workforce in the organization. I think that's where I see that we really play a very, very key role. So in that sense, I think we need to be the curators of the change, in the sense that how we are enabling the organizations to
Did we lose her, or is it just me?
I guess so. We lost her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wait for her to rejoin, but I think in the interim, does anybody else, like maybe I'll call on Lavanya to see if there is a point of view on what leadership capability will matter the most in an AI driven workplace.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Grace. See, while I totally agree with what Richa was voicing over, I feel the basic thing is acceptance that there is a leadership shift that is happening. Okay, and it is not just execution anymore. It needs to be more than that. It needs to move towards elevation, right? So it is not an emerging technology like what you're saying. When about a few years back, AI was still a very emerging word. Now you have AI all over the place, right? It's a business imperative now. It's not emerging anymore. So the shift is what is important, and to what I think is a major capability that will matter most now is coaching. Where you can have blend your human judgment with kind of machine insights, right? The adaptive intelligence it can have, and that where building capability will become a very important factor. So coaching is something that I think we can start focusing on. We should be focusing on, and adaptive intelligence, yeah, maybe that to be able to integrate, the data that the AI can give us with human judgments. So where we can balance speed with judgmental ethics, maybe. So that would be what I can add to it, to in addition to what Richa was already saying, Grace.
All right,
Sorry, I
fantastic.
lost you all momentarily. Am I audible now?
Yes, you are. Welcome
Yes,
back.
yes.
All right. So I think Lavanya picked up pretty much where I was kind of segueing into. So thank you so much, Lavanya, for that. But
Okay.
as I said, I think we would play a very significant role in the skill building and the skill development. Also rethinking about how our workforce architecture should look like. What are the jobs which are best positioned to be delivered by AI, and where the human must still be kept in loop, or the human led organization still should be a center force, right? So I think that was one of the points that I would want to call out.
Wonderful. Yeah, thank you, both of you. I think that's pretty insightful, and I'm sure our audience is already taking down notes, right? I'm just going to come to Sorel a little bit and to just get her view on how AI is changing leadership decision making, right, around people and talent. So Sorel, your views will be of great help.
Yeah, thank you, and excellent first opening question. I think the interesting thing that we in HR and in business more broadly, and certainly as women as well, is understanding where AI is an enabler of human-centric business and leadership. So I am a firm believer, obviously as a founder of an AI company, that what AI can do for a lot of human resourcing, talent, people, sort of teams, and again, broader businesses, centers on the, I guess, the removal of a lot of the time spent that actually keeps you away from time spent with your teams and being leader. I've had the pleasure of running some incredible teams of people over the years, and we all know how much, sort of time spent is not on leading great people, not on mentorship, not on programs and training and learning
True.
and development, because of, in fact, what what business requires as well. So that's, for me, is really what AI can bring for leaders, is a foundational level of BAU requirement that doesn't have to take 50% of your time. And so that in turn will give you a lot more, I guess, grey matter and approach to support the people around you to be that leader. In terms of where AI as well definitely is enabling strong leadership and business focused decisions is in, analytics, data. Of course, I'm going to play a nod to this, but when you don't have to spend time understanding what the data is telling you, but instead can spend time understanding how that insight can be applied to your business, or your team or your leadership style, then you are far accelerating your impact, your positive and significant impact on decision making. So data-led decision making, and that data being analysed by AI to support those decisions and to track what those decisions are doing with meaningful impact is, light years faster than it was even a few years ago. So I think the combination of those two things, the enablement of strong data-led decisioning and analysis of what is working and what is not, because again, we're all human, an enabler of human-centric business to really demonstrate what is truly the human condition, which is there is no finite, humans aren't finite. We are constantly evolving, learning, changing. I don't think we can be replaced entirely by AI, because AI can talk to what it has experienced before. And humans, we are gloriously edge case all over the place at all times, which I adore and which I think is fundamentally why AI supports and enables. It doesn't truly replace, it'll replace roles, it'll replace workloads, but it doesn't replace us. And certainly those in leadership and in people teams that have to ensure that they are continuing to support the inherent unpredictability of human, to support them and help them grow.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Sorrel, for keeping it so real because, my inputs there also is I always keep telling people it is information input from AI, but also human intuition, right? And intelligence. I think that's really the perfect blend. Thank you, Sorrel. Fantastic. And, I'm just going to move on to maybe Yamini and talk a little bit, have her talk a little bit about leadership behavior that must evolve for leaders, right? To stay very relevant in this AI era. Like if you think that you are able to really point a finger and say, these are the leadership behaviors that must involve in today's world. Yamini.
Great. Thanks, Grace. Yes, so it all boils down to how we are collaborating and working with the AI rapid changes that are happening around, right? So as Sorel was mentioning, it's more about uh, you know working along, because what I've seen as the trends, or what I've seen as businesses taking a pause, taking a step to understand how this needs to be implemented, what this needs to mean for an organization to adapt AI, is that the thought processes are slowly changing. It's not about, as you rightly said, cutting down the workforce, or it's not about how do we make it profitable, how do we make sure that we work with less, but what we are actually looking at as organizational priorities is how do we make things more efficient? How do we make things better in terms of collaborating? So somewhere when it all started a couple of years back, what we saw it is rapidly picking up. It is going much faster than what we anticipated, or what we have seen, like in last 28, 30 years of our experience, we are seeing changes. But at the same time, the changes are starting to happen much more rapidly. Like, for instance, during COVID, we actually saw everybody moving, changing, working remotely. That change had to happen almost overnight. But today, after 6 years after that trend, we are seeing AI is the kind of a thing which might happen even faster in terms of adapting it into our day-to-day work lives. We've all been using AI in some form or the other for a long time without people realizing it, but people started talking about it a couple of years back. Last year was more about how do organizations take decisions to implement it, how do we make sure that it is helping us become more profitable. But I think what I'm seeing as priorities across different countries or even different business units is people are now trying to see it is not about cutting down something and bringing in something else. What they are looking at is how do we make these two things integrate and collaborate and work better. So earlier it was more about humans doing, then it became humans working with AIs and agents and chatbots and other things. But this is not something to make your life easier. We need to understand how do we make the machines work. I think that is where the thought process is changing. It's more about human-led agents implemented or AI augmented work that is going to continue as a trend. But keeping aside the changes that are happening on the AI part of it, I do feel the human part of it is also taking focus. It is about, as leaders, especially as HR leaders, our focus is now on how do we support all our business leaders to understand the human angle, and how do they take leadership decisions with empathy, being an authentic leader, emotional connect with the people, especially when people are working in a remote environments or work from home, hybrid environments. How do they still keep that human angle of understanding people? Uh, how do they support the life journeys of ups and downs, and making sure that they are coached to handle the team while they're also looking at what will make an organization much more profitable? How do the business strategy help them in uh, having the right people at the right time while they're looking at what will help this journey of transition? uh, Again, it's happening in pockets. It's efforts wise. I think every organization is having its part of its priorities or goals this year, that they need to adopt AI. They need to change. They need to train. They need to make sure that people are equipped to handle. I think that is where the focus is changing in terms of leadership behaviors. It's not about enforcing something or implementing something drastically, but it's about taking a pause and making sure this journey is much more matured and collaborative, and which would also help other businesses to be more profitable.
Got it. Sure. I think this is fantastic. Thank you so much, Yamini. And then, yes, I'm going to go to Mekhla now and then get a little more personal before I go to Editha and Stacy. I think, Mekhla, that my question to you is, what has helped you move from just having a seat at the table to influencing a lot of decisions for the organization? That's what we'd love to hear from you.
Grace, thank you for this wonderful question. The first office question for directly hitting or angling at a women. So earlier in my tenure, when I started my corporate journey, it was more about participation. Uh, and it was the constant reinforcement was that you need to participate as a woman, because obviously you don't come with that relevant experience or that critical thinking at the early stage of your career. Now, as you move on, as you gain and garner experience, you have industry exposure, your participation becomes your perspective. And that's when, as a women leader, and that's my personal mantra where where I focus on women participating in all the initiatives by the business. And that's when women will get a seat at the table, a voice in the boardroom, and a reckoning impact on the business. So the focus has always been from participation to gaining perspective. And how does this transition or this journey happens is through your credibility, through your vision, through your clarity, and most important thing, we are talking in an AI era, your human judgment, your critical thinking, and your problem solving ability. If you are in a position, or if you excel in getting these three combos as a part of your skills or as a part of your attitude, I think you have won the battle. And that's where we speak about successful women entrepreneurs or successful women business leaders. I think they have mastered these three skills, and that's why they are successful. A little bit I'll go back in terms of sharing some datas. While we speak about women in the boardroom, I think the global data, and this is a global platform, I'll speak from a global standpoint, it is just 11%. And that uh, this is a data which is published by World Economic Forum in February 26. I think 11% is something which we are not happy with. From a work from 100% perspective, only 11% women are there, and that too it's a from all hierarchies. Now, if you break it down into junior, mid, and senior, I think senior the number dips to less than 5%, and that is quite alarming. It's quite alarming. We keep on doing forums, we go propagate about women leadership, the change, the organizational impact. I think in the last decade, the numbers have not gone up. Rather, it has been constantly stable, and that has not shown significant growth. I think this is a problem statement which we as women advocates or women change leaders needs to champion that. Uh, you can be helping the organization where you are associated with in terms of influencing, but how do we come as a community and uplift the women leadership is what I think next 5 years we should focus on that. The number should not be 11%, but it should go to 51% and more, is what my personal belief and my personal vision is. I welcome some opinions on this particular, because this is a extremely crucial point and it should be the game changer for the industry. I welcome points
Absolutely.
from
Yeah,
others.
yeah. I think thank you so much for bringing in all of that data, right? Because I think data definitely helps in kind of understanding the real issue and stuff like that. And I'm a big advocate of, yes, I think we're doing a lot of these awareness sessions. There are a lot of existing women leaders who are going out there to really spread the word around, etc. But I think it's also, and especially for all of our listeners here, I think the onus is upon each of you as individual budding women leaders, right? I think it's important to remember never to give up, because there are going to be a lot of challenges which will drive you to believe that, oh my God, I think this is the day I want to give up, right? But I think it's so important to just continue the journey, face things head on, and then always believe in yourself to say that you're going to make it big one day. You're going to make it higher up there, and you have it in you, right? So that's really my two bits. I know I'm the moderator, but behave like a panelist for a minute. But, I'm going to go on to my next question in the interest of time, because I think we are left with about 20 more minutes on this one. So thank you, Mikla, for that. And I'm going to go to Editha, to really have her talk a little bit about barriers, right? What barriers still exist for women in strategic roles today? Editha, what's your view?
Yeah, thank you for that question, Grace. So, if I may just quickly share, well, first of all, I stand in unity with all the women globally who are experiencing, difference in treatment, in opportunities. Where I come from, which is the Philippines, we experience that a lot as well. I'm sure there's a lot of places where there's really that great opportunity where that can still be fixed. But my environment that I grew up in is I'm very fortunate because it's where I believe anything can be possible. In fact, this was a study done a very long time ago, maybe 5 or 7 years ago. The Philippines was named the a top two country in terms of men women equality, and it is a country where there's a 51% chance your boss is a woman. So that speaks strongly about the culture in the Philippines. In fact, we've had uh, two women presidents already. Even the United States has not been able to attain that. So that speaks about how empowered women are in this environment. But what I can do and what I can say is I think that we all should still continue to encourage and sustain that environment and culture where everyone has a voice, regardless whether you're a woman or a man, but based on your actual merits, your credibility, your performance. So that's my belief, and I think we need to also protect that. I know that in some places people can sit comfortably, women can sit comfortably, knowing that the way I'm not likely to experience lesser treatment because I'm in this particular environment or in this particular group. But I think the moment we stop holding that line, the moment we start feeling comfortable, that's when there's opportunity where uh, we could go back, right? And people will just start assuming that, hey, maybe uh, women have less capabilities, or they should not be given as much voice as they have now. So that is my thought. I think for me, again, regardless of your gender, for me, if you hold on to such values as integrity, authenticity, and accountability, I think that will really help foster and encourage that environment where everyone could have a voice, and it's really based on your skills and abilities and merits and performance and your integrity and credibility. So that's my thought around that.
Awesome. Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, Editha. And I'm just going to come to our lovely Stacy now. And my question to you, Stacy, is what leadership strengths do you think women bring that are very unique to organizations today, right? I mean, are there some new age skills that they bring in now? And we'd love to hear from you, Stacy.
Yeah, I think that there is some specific skills that are unique to females that really benefit businesses when we're thinking about that strategic leadership, or how we're going to also be thinking to the future. So thinking about things like AI and what that means for our organizations as well. So I think some of those skills that maybe we'd be calling out and thinking about a little bit more would be that empathy. So at the moment, when we're thinking about our workforces and their expectations, which are continually changing, but have been rapidly changing, especially since COVID, we now see a greater expectation of empathetic leadership and what that means, and how to also understand what people are maybe struggling with at home, for example. So maybe 10 years ago, really roughly, you wouldn't necessarily share so much about what was happening in your home life. Now it's an expectation from your leaders that they actually care about and consider what's happening outside of your work as well, and are taking that into consideration, and that we are building strategies to make sure that you're empowered as well. So I think empathy is an amazing skill set that comes quite naturally to female leaders, perhaps more naturally. This is a really generalizing statement, obviously not not cut and dry, but that's just something that we seem to see a lot more, or is really encouraged more from those female leaders as well. So I think that's something that also we should be striving to embrace as female leaders. So I think again, it's something where previously we wanted to hide it to a degree as well. So we wanted to sort of say, no, 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 we are big and strong and tough, and we are just like the males that are in the room as well. Whereas now I think we're all changing, and we're seeing that actually this is something to be celebrated, and it brings amazing things to the table that maybe weren't present there as well. So I think that's probably the call out as well from all of today and this week. I've been to several International Women's Day events, for example, this week, because in my organisation we have a predominantly female workforce, which we're really proud of, and it also means that International Women's Day is really valuable to us as well. So I've been able to have the privilege this week of hearing lots of different female leaders speak. And that's probably the biggest thing that's come across to me, is their ability to put themselves into other people's shoes and use that empathy skill. And that gives them that power as well, because then they can say, well, hang on, let's think about how can we use our humans? How can we use their strengths, and how can I empower them to do what they're best at work as well. So yeah, really amazing when I get the opportunity to listen to so many females in a room, and it's also quite inspiring as well to realize that whereas I feel like we used to hide these skills previously, now we're really proud, and it's actually a really big strength for all of us as well. So I'd just say also, let's keep it up, everyone.
Awesome, great. And also, I'll maybe just play panelist for a minute here to give you my views as well, right? The additional thing that I often keep thinking about is vulnerability, right? A lot of times we were just so shy earlier to tell the world how vulnerable we are. And at times I take a lot of pride in saying, okay, where I'm failing and what I'm not doing well, and then where I need help. So I think that is something that we all need to practice. So, people, who are working in our chain then kind of understand that, hey, leadership, especially, women leadership doesn't mean it's going to be perfect, right? It's more about excellence and not perfection. So that's really my two bits that I wanted to add, Stacy, and thank you so much for that. I'm going to go to Rona Gupta now with my next question. And Rona, my question to you really is, what skills do you think will define, the future of workforce, especially women, in the next 5 to 10 years? What's your view?
Thanks for the question, Grace.
Yeah,
We look ahead 5 years, the workforce will be defined less by static expertise and more by adaptability and learning agility. Now, technology is evolving rapidly, and many roles will continue to change in ways we cannot fully predict today. So that means that the most valuable employees will be those who can continuously learn, interpret information, and adapt their skills as the environment evolves. Digital literacy will also be essential. Employees will increasingly work alongside AI tools, automation systems, advanced analytics, but the differentiator will be the ability to combine those tools with critical thinking and collaboration. So that's why we can say that the future belongs to those who can adapt, not just those who excel at what they know today. So organization that cultivate that mindset, so curiosity, flexibility, and continuous development will build teams that can thrive no matter how technology evolves, right? So that's my thought on that, on what skill will define the most successful workforce in the next 5 years.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Rona. And I'm going to go to Lavanya now and ask a very maybe personal question, right? Lavanya, what leadership lesson shaped your career the most that you remember?
Ha. So it's not just one lesson, Grace, if I have to think back. There are a lot of instances, a lot of triggers that happen, throughout the journey that keeps reinforcing certain of these concepts that we've all been talking about, right? So I am not able to attribute it to just one situation or one lesson that overnight changed, like how it happens in the movies. It didn't happen that way. So this happened over a, period of time. But what was the most impactful thing that I would think of is it's not just about me as an individual, a leadership skill. It's more to me about how I can enable my co-workers, my peers, my team also to succeed along. So that's been the biggest learning that I've been able to pick up on the way, right? So it's not a personal achievement anymore. So the initial stages of your career, you're more focused on how well you can establish your base, how you can set your foundation, what kind of personal achievements, one more feather in your cap, and that.
True.
But now it's the focus is totally shifted. It's not about personal achievement any longer. It's more about fostering team growth. So when I'm saying a team growth, it brings in things like trust, brings in things like mentorship, empowering our own team to be able to stand up for themselves. I'm sure all of us here have stepped out from our daily busy schedules. We must be having something critical running, and we're sure that we're happy there's someone else from our team who's pitching in for us there, firefighting if need be. So, that gives you a sense of satisfaction. Okay, so there's some lesson that's helped shape my career there. Okay.
Great. Yeah,
Um,
sure.
so I think it's mostly to learn to listen deeply and lead from the front always doesn't work. It's more of, going on together and recognizing it's a collective success and not just
Yeah.
individual authority anymore.
Wonderful. Sure. Thank you, Lavanya. And I think I'm just so much learning to listen on this panel as well, and wonderful insights. Sorel, so do you want to add to that to say what is that leadership lesson that shaped you, in your career the most that you remember?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you. I think probably the biggest piece when I was first given, my first manager role, we've all walked that walk, and it's scary. And again, as I was saying at the top of the round table, I was in tech, so one of the only female managers more years ago than I'm going to admit, but it was a while ago. And I thought that being a manager, or I thought leadership meant having all the answers. So being the go-to of, because that's why you're running the team, that's why you're a leader. But the lesson I really learned is, and it does combine with what Stacey so brilliantly said before, leadership is stewardship, and making sure that those around you, that you are building support around them for every part of their life. And you are also showing up as a human. I know I've said a human about 15 times now, but if you don't show up as somebody who is able to admit that you are fallible, that you don't know all the answers, but that you will support someone to figure it out together, which is, yes, sometimes leading from the front and sometimes not, then you will not foster a team or a leadership sort of approach that is approachable and human, and that people will feel comfortable working with, right? If you think you just have to have all the answers, and that was me, 1000%. I didn't want to appear to not have the answers. I thought that's what were the right thing to do. And I remember my boss's boss at the time saying, you're running yourself ragged and you're not showing up as somebody who people can admit that they don't know what to do, or that they have made an error, because again, we're all human. And so showing up as a hopefully well operating, good operator, fallible human is how you actually show up as a leader. And you're never going to have all the answers, and to presume that you do is wild, and you're just going to set yourself up to fail. So that was the really, really crucial leadership lesson for me. Luckily, I was able to have wonderful leadership from above me to learn that lesson reasonably early. But show up as a human. And probably just the second, if I may have a little that's A, and the little B plot piece was when I had so I've got a 4-year-old son, and my boss at the time, he and his wife had a little girl about the same time as I had my son. And we both held ourselves to showing up as parents of new children. And again, not this robotic, I'm the leader, so there is no humanity behind what we're doing, and being open and honest about, I need to leave early because I need to do a school pickup, or I want to go to my kids, whatever, or whatever external to work things are. Obviously, it's not always children, doesn't have to be. But once again, not hiding the fact that you're a human who has a life outside of work. Because if you do that, then people won't think they are allowed to have a life outside of work, or that they have to hide their life outside of work. And leadership is stewardship, and stewardship of the whole person, not just the person that is working with you, for you in that business. So they're the two things. Show up as a human. You will never have all the answers. Admit fallibility, and you will be a great, really strong leader.
Fantastic. And I love the fact that you said you're never going to have all the answers. Likewise, I think, well, we put together a lot of questions. We're never going to get to the last question. So what I'm going to do as your moderator is switch a little to give you that one question that all of us are going to do a rapid fire in the interest of time, because we want to ensure that we're really talking a little bit. I think we talked about everything else, but this last section, which is about the future of workforce, right? And how do we all look at it? So I would request all my panelists to hear me out here. The one question that I'd love for each of you to respond to is, what is one piece of advice you would give to aspiring women today who are really looking at leadership roles in the future, right? Let me repeat that question. What is that one piece of advice you would give to all aspiring women today who are looking at leadership roles in the future, right? And that question, I'd love for each of you to take less than 30 seconds, please, to just summarize and tell me what comes on top of your mind, right? We may not be able to give all the answers, like Sorel said, but something that comes on top of your mind. And then, before we call it a wrap, I think those will be key takeaways for our people. So who wants to go? Do we do Meghla?
I can go.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
No,
So
we'll
yeah.
have Meghla go. We'll do Meghla, we'll do Editha, Rona, Yamini, Lavanya, Stacy, Sorel, and Richa. In that order. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Grace, for calling out my name. The one piece of advice which I would like to give to everybody is don't wait, jump. I repeat, don't wait, jump. You are perfectly ready. Accept yourself, take on the challenges, and move on. In all departments, all industry, all continents, all geographies. Just do that. I think success will kiss your feet. I think that is something which I have been advocating in my career, and I have been passing on these advice to all of us. And I think that has really worked. Don't wait for people to choose you, choose the moment. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. Editha.
Yes, my quick advice would be to strengthen your values, because your values, you bring it everywhere you go, in whatever role you take on, whatever challenge you face. You bring these values with you, and they're the ones that are with you all the time, will keep you on your feet, and will really help take you places and maximize your own potential. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you for keeping it short and great advice. Thank you. Rona.
My advice would be to develop both operational excellence and strategic perspective, understanding how work actually flows through an organization, the challenges teams face, the systems that supports them, the realities of execution. Those are incredibly valuable. But influence grows when those insights are connected to enterprise priorities like growth, customer outcomes, and long-term capability. So when leaders can bridge those two perspectives, the operational reality and the strategic ambition, they become powerful contributors to the direction of the organization. So the leaders who shape the future are those who can translate insight into strategic impact. And the future of work needs more leaders who can do exactly that.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Rona. We'll go to Yamini.
Yeah, thanks, Grace. I was almost about to say what Rona was talking, but then let me quickly tell you. As women leaders, we are looked at as somebody who has empathy and balance and also vulnerability when required. But at the same time, I feel we need to focus on building our business skills and financial knowledge. A lot of leaders may not be able to reach the peak only because they don't understand how the business works and how the money is moving in the organization. You need to really have a grasp to know what is happening in the business. If you need to stay relevant and if you need to sustain your position of influence, you really need to be embedded into the business and the financials. And I think that's what has helped me. So it's important for each leader, because as HR we try at times to be aloof from what is happening in the business and finance levels to take decisions, but we need to know our decisions has to coincide and collaborate very closely with financials of the organization.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Yamini. So 30 seconds for you, Lavanya.
Okay, a lot of like-minded thoughts there, but what I would go with is get out of your comfort zones. The moment that you must remember that if you are there inside the comfort zone, then you're not growing at all. And life begins outside of the comfort zone only. So if you don't
Great.
dare, you will never be able to achieve and always will remain mediocre. So yeah, get out
Fantastic.
of
I
your
love
comfort
that.
zones.
I love that. I love that. Stacy.
So had some amazing advice here. So I thought I'd go in a slightly different direction. My advice would be to think about and how to practice your executive presence. So if you want to get things across the line, if you have an agenda that you need to get forward, if you want to be seen and get promoted, executive presence is going to be really, really, really critical for that. And when I'm saying executive presence, I'm not necessarily talking about that old school, how we sort of envision men often as well, in particular, having that confidence and those kind of things. I'm thinking a little bit more towards the future and thinking about how we're going to be doing work in the future. And a lot of that is online. So most important things happen on Teams meetings like we are right now. And so, as a female leader, you're going to hope to have opportunities such as what we're doing right now and being able to, connect with and share knowledge, for example. So thinking about what that means. So how are you able to communicate clearly, confidently, and authentically? And that's not just in person, but that's online and in a digital world as well.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Stacey. We go to Sorel and then to Richard.
Mine would be done is better than perfect, which I cannot even claim to have coined. That's Sheryl Sandberg-ism. Love her or not, she's a brilliant operator, in my opinion. And done is better than perfect. And we spoke earlier about some really wonderful and unique, often unique skill sets that women bring to the table for the benefit of all business. But one of them is that we think often, and I'm just as guilty of this, we think that it's not done until it's 100 or 110% there. I can promise you, everybody else in the room, they are not thinking like that. So done is better than perfect can relate to a body of work, a project, or your own career progression, or the steps that you think you need to take before you put your hand up for the next promotion or whatever. Done is better than perfect. So we heard speak up earlier. Done is better than perfect. It applies.
Done is better than perfect. I learned that I learned that new today. Done is better than perfect. Yep. All right. So I think we have our final panelist. Richard, last 30 seconds to you.
Absolutely. And I'm going to keep it short and crisp because I've got a lot of nudges from my team to jump onto the another meeting. However, I think my advice will be twofold. One is, I think being women, sometimes it means that, we take the front seat in nurturing a family at home and in office, and that also could imply that we are giving ourselves a backseat. So I think do not defer your needs, your wants, your ambitions, your aspirations anymore. Put yourself in the front seat first. And the second advice is that keep your learning agility up, keep your curiosity alive at all times. And I think whether it was some sort of other automation some time ago, or AI now, or maybe a different technology tomorrow, if your curiosity and your learning agility is high, you can absolutely rock the world.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think we've come to the end of this wonderful discussion. I absolutely enjoyed being your moderator and fellow panelists. I think you've gotten beautiful insight, and in the interest of time, I must definitely say that, I'm sure our audience has really found this discussion useful. I want to respect, value, and thank the time that you've taken out to prepare and show up. And my final words are, we all as women, I think, need to wake up, dress up, and show up, right? I think that's fundamental to all of what we talked about today. And with that, it's a wrap from all of us, and have a beautiful, great rest of the day. Thank you so much, and signing off.
Thanks a lot, Grace. Thank you, Shiva. It was wonderful connecting with all of you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
thanks,
Thank you,
Grace,
everyone.
for